Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure it's Michael. Jerome had actually used his phone for the Zoom link. That's why you got that name.
Okay, miss. Thank you.
Welcome to our dining etiquette session. And what we will be doing, we will be having a four-course meal and we'll be guiding you through the process. I understand that everybody will be, most persons anyway, will have the four-course meals at home and we will go through each course.
You know what is omega pandy?
Sorry, somebody's talking? Somebody said something? Okay, what is etiquette? We know we hear the word etiquette being bantered about a lot. Dining etiquette, social etiquette, business etiquette, telephone etiquette. And what it is really simply rules that govern how we conduct ourselves in a public space. If we are comfortable and know the rules, then we can be confident that we are behaving appropriately. It is said that more than 85% of business deals are made at dining tables, over luncheons, over dinner. More and more final round interviews are conducted in a dining setting. Many of you will graduate with the same degree, the same competence. What is going to differentiate you from the next applicant? It's going to be image and how you're able to represent that company. We live in an image-driven culture, and so how you're able to conduct yourself in a dining setting will determine your success. So I encourage you this evening to pay attention, consider it another skill for your professional repertoire. So the first thing, we're going to be having the waiter. We're set up, we're going to have a four-course, both of us, two persons will be dining, and we're going to talk it through the process. So I'm going to get up and as if though we're just enter the restaurant. And usually it will be the host or maitre d' that will be doing seating at the table. Now, as soon as you're seated, you remove your napkin from its place and place it across your lap. Now, in some restaurants, the maitre d' or the host will seat you and move the napkin from its place. Now, the napkin, the appropriate seating distance from the table is 2 widths of your hand. So as soon as you're seated, you adjust the seat if necessary to ensure that you're not too far from the table. If you're too far from the table, what will happen is that, oh, we're seeing somebody here, food will have far to travel and you may get food on your clothes. Now, if you're in a home setting, if it's someone's home, you remove your napkin from its place when the host or hostess has removed his or her napkin from its place. Yeah, the folded, I'm seeing somebody there replacing napkin. Move your napkin from its place and place it across your lap. Now, I'm just making adjustments so I can see what is happening. One second.
To the plate.
Okay, yeah, I can see what's happening now. Now, usually, first thing the waiter will do is approach the table with water. If it is that you're waiting for other person to join you, it's perfectly acceptable at this time for the waiter to accept if a drink order, if you request a drink order, make a drink order at that time. Other than that, wait till everybody has joined you before you start into the meal. Another thing to note is that usually wait staff will serve food on your left, drink or water on your right. Things like that you need to be aware, just in case you may need to make an adjustment if the table is crowded and you don't want to come up suddenly and hit the waiter and turn over things and cause accidents. Now, ordering. Where the entire dynamic is based on the idea of a business session. So it could be an interview, or the marketing head is taking the group of you to dinner or something like that. You do not order more than one dessert or wine, except at your urge. Let's say the host says to you, the cheesecake here is fabulous, you must have it. Then that's a cue that you can order dessert, but usually you'd order just the main course. So, and a course is a portion of the meal that is served at one time. So soup is one course, main course or salad will be the next one, entree or main course, and dessert is the final course we will serve this evening. We're going to have a look at the table setting in front of us. Can they see it? Can you see? Can anybody respond? Can you see?
Hi, Mrs. Michael. Yes, we can see
Open your
you.
mic. Yes, open your mic so you can see the table.
Yes, we can see the table
All right,
clearly.
I'm going to hold up each item.
You can lift up and more. Yeah. So that's them for the solar suck.
Okay. So it's set for 4 courses. And you may have heard you eat from the outside in, and that would be correct. On the right side of the setting, the first course we're having is the soup. And this is the soup spoon. The soup spoon is different from from the dessert spoon, for example. The soup spoon has a rounded bowl. Beside the soup spoon is the knife for the next course we'll be having, which is the salad. And beside this knife is the knife for the following course, which will be the main course or the entree. To the left of the setting, from the outside coming in, is the fork for the second course, which is the salad, and the fork for the main course. At the top of the setting, we have the dessert spoon and the dessert fork. To the left of the setting, there's a side plate, or we call the bread and butter plate, and on it, the bread and butter knife. In the middle of the setting is some restaurants will have a plate in the middle of the setting. It's called a charger or a show plate, and they will serve the first course on this plate. When they're clearing your salad, when they're clearing your soup, they'll take away this plate. Anybody has any questions? Please open your mic so I can hear. I need a little feedback. All right, look at the glasses. At the tip of the knife, the first glass will be the water goblet. The next one is this is a white wine glass. Red wine glass. This part of the glass is called the stem, and this is the bowl. When you're holding the glass, you hold it by the stem. The red wine, it's accepted to hold it between your 3rd and 4th fingers. It will not affect the quality of the wine. The warmth from your hand will not affect the temperature or the quality of the wine. And last, what we have here is a champagne flute. Are there any questions?
No, not at this
All
time,
right.
Mrs. Michael. No questions just yet from the students. Maybe they'll ask you at the
Okay.
end, so you could just continue with the demonstration, and then they will ask some of the questions at the end.
Okay. Are you seeing okay now? We made another adjustment. You're seeing okay?
Yes, we're seeing it clear from this end.
All right, so what is going to be serving now? And the napkin is used for one thing only, and it's to blot your mouth between bites, or if you think something may be on the outside of your mouth. It's not to clean up the cutlery or shine the glass or remove something from your clothes, only to blot your mouth between bites. And by blot, I mean like this. Now we're going to be serving bread. Now bread is served one of 2 ways, either in a bread basket, or it's served directly onto the bread and butter plate. If it's served in a basket, it's the responsibility of the person closest to the bread basket to start by moving it around the table, offer it to the person on the right, help themselves, and pass to the person on the left. So I'm offering to the person who is dining with me. Yeah. And put on your bread and butter plate. Now, bread, we break the bread, a bite-sized piece, and butter, a bite-sized piece. The butter, similarly, is either served directly on the plate, or sometimes it's served in a container in the middle of the table. And if that is the case, you use your butter knife or the knife that is there to serve the butter, and remove what you think you may need and put on your bread and butter plate. So don't keep going back to the communal butter. Just remove how much you think you may need and place on your bread and butter plate. Then you use the butter knife to butter a bite-sized piece of the bread. So you break the bread, a bite-sized piece, which means that when you put the piece in your mouth, it should be coming back down from your mouth with anything in your hand. Butter that bite-sized piece, waiting on our butter. But let's say we have the butter, you butter that bite-sized piece and place the bite-sized piece in your mouth. Now, the bread and butter plate stays at that location. You don't move it to any other part of the table because it will remain there until after the soup is served, and after the salad is served, it stays there until after the main course is served. And when the main course is being cleared, that's when they will remove the bread and butter plate. So you don't move it and place it in the middle of the setting. And you can just break a piece of bread at any point in that time and butter a bite-sized piece. Don't break up all the bread at one time. Break a bite-sized piece, butter that bite-sized piece, and place the bite-sized piece in your mouth. And it's perfectly acceptable to have it there and you have your salad and you break a piece more and your main course still feel like a piece more bread. That is perfectly fine. There's no need to rush and have it when it's served. Yes, please. Please. Okay. So we'll use the butter knife, butter the bread, and place that bite-sized piece in your mouth. No, don't use the butter knife to cut the bread. Just use your hands to break the bread. Why I keep saying bread? Use your hands to break the bread, yes, and butter that piece that's more than a bite size. I'm not sure who that is. The next course the first course is here is the soup course. Now we say we eat soup. Though it's liquid, we never say drink soup. It's always referred to as eating soup. Now some general points to note. No slurping. No talking with food in our mouth. Right, so the soup spoon. Now imagine the bowl as the face of a clock, with 12 o'clock being the furthest point away from you. Put the spoon in the middle of the bowl, scoop away from you, pass the bottom of the spoon on the edge of the bowl, lean slightly forward, raise the spoon to your mouth and sip from the side. So imagine the bowl as the face of a clock, with 12 o'clock being the furthest point from you. The spoon in the middle of the bowl, scoop away from you, pass the spoon on the edge of the bowl, lean slightly forward, raise the spoon to your mouth, and sip from the side. No slurping. Now soup is served either in a soup bowl or sometimes a wider bowl that looks like a salad plate. What we have in dining is what we call silent service codes, and this is indication to the wait staff where we are in our meals. So where we place the spoon will indicate to the wait staff if we're finished eating or if we're put down our spoon to talk with our dining companion or not. The other thing is, if you must leave the table, the napkin, if you're not finished having your meal, the napkin is loosely folded and placed to the left of the setting until you return. That will indicate to the waiter that you haven't finished eating, you're coming back to finish your meal. So when you're finished eating, the spoon, where you place the spoon, indicates to the waiter where you are. Are you finished eating? At the end of eating, you place the spoon on the underliner. This is the soup bowl. This is the plate at the bottom, we call the underliner or soup. So the spoon is placed here, will indicate to the waiter that you're finished. Once you see it here, even if you stop to talk to your dining companion, but you really shouldn't be just eating. Many times you're there about business. So food is just incidental in the process. So you would have a spoon or two, talk to the person on both your left and your right. Have some more, and when you're finished, spoon is placed on the underliner. Spoon is placed on the underliner, and that indicates to the waiter that you're finished having your meal. Yes. So the waiter will see that we're finished having. Give some people a chance to have their soup. Or people are having soup. Can I have some answer? Yes, I see someone having their soup. So we'll have 2 spoons or so. Oh, you're not hearing me?
Are you hearing us?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are. And yes, there are students who are having their soup.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, I see that. So I give them a few minutes to have. No elbows on the table. This is where your hands go, either on your lap or with your wrist on the edge of the table. Either here on your lap or here. No elbows on the table. Spoon in the scoop away from you. You want to get rid of any drips, that's why you pass the spoon over the edge of the bowl. Lean slightly forward. Sip, not slurp, from the side of the spoon. Okay. So the waiter will remove the soup from the right side. He will leave the bread and butter plate and your bread. So are you talking with your dining companion? Now, a useful way to remember about the setting is using the BMW. Because many times you'll go to an event and it's so crowded that the settings are set close together. You're not sure which bread and butter plate is mine, which water goblet is mine. Reading from left to right, BMW. Bread, meal, water, or wine. So the bread and butter plate on the left will always be yours. And the water, wine, whatever gas is on the right are going to be yours. Now, if somebody sitting next to you and not sure which and has used your bread and butter plate, you have to let it go. You can discreetly get the attention of the waiter to ask for another bread and butter plate. If not, you will do without that for this service. You know, don't argue with the person that's my plate and you're trying to get it back. That's it. But you know that from left to right, bread and butter plate on the left, the water or wine glass on the right is yours. Another thing to note, no sharing or tasting of anybody's meal. The meal arises, ooh, I should have ordered that, let me taste it. No. Once you're in a situation where image matters, then those things you don't do. Similarly, you will ask for doggy bags. And by that I mean, whatever you can't, you leave it there. So very often in a case like this, you may not even paying for the meal. So if you do not need any more, you leave it right there. If you're offered seconds, you graciously accept, but certainly don't request to take home anything. So we're moving on to the next course, which is our salad course. And again, he's going to be serving on the left. He's going to serve ladies before gentlemen. No, there are two, and we're using the cutter, the knife on the fork from the outside coming in. No, there are two ways to use the knife and fork. The American or North American style and the European style. No, we can't use both. You have to select, it doesn't matter which one you use, you have to select one style and use it for the entire dining experience. Both of them start the same way, with the knife in the right hand and the fork in the left hand. We're going to start with the American. So with the American style, what we do, we use the knife to cut anything we're going to be using, and resist the temptation to use only the fork to have the salad. You must use the knife on the fork. The knife is placed at the top of the plate with the cutting edge turned in. You switch hands and the food goes into your mouth from your right hand. This part of the fork is the tines. Use it to cut. Place anything on the fork. The knife is placed here, you switch hand, and then the fork goes into your mouth from your right hand with the tines turned up. I'm trying to see if anybody's going. Yeah, we use the knife to cut or place anything on the fork. Cutting edge turned in, switch hand, the fork goes into your mouth from your right hand with the tines turned up. Notice another silent service tone indicates to the waiter where you are in your meal. You're stopping to take a drink. Talk with your dining companion person on your left and or your right. The fork, can see the plate. This is where it is indicated to the waiter that you're not finished having your meal. Nobody's doing it. The cutting edge turned in and the fork hit just where you would have put it down because you would have been using it with your right hand going this way. That's where you have put it. This is where it indicates you're taking a break, not finished eating.
We're seeing you clearly, Miss Smith.
I'm trying to see what persons are doing.
Oh.
Oh. Like I said, both styles start the same with the knife in the right hand, fork in your left. With the continental style, the knife places the item on the back of the fork. And the fork goes into your mouth from your left hand with the tines turned down. You place the item so the knife stays in your hand. The fork goes into your mouth from your left hand with the tines turned down. In this case, when you're taking a break, this is how it is on the plate. Because you'll be eating, tines turned down, having your meal, taking a break to have a drink, talk with your dining companion. You're not finished eating, the waiter is aware that you're not finished eating because of how you have left the cutlery on the plate. On the back of the fork, and the fork goes into your mouth from your left hand, the knife stays in your right hand. So this is how it's placed. When you're taking a break. Was American, would be this way to take a break. Continental, because you will be using it this way, this is how it indicates a break. I'll give you a few minutes to have your salad. So when you're finished having your salad, the indication to the waiter where you are that you're finished eating. Okay. When you're finished having your salad, the indication to the waiter that you're finished having your meal is the cutlery placed at the 10-20 position. Imagine the plate as a face of a clock. 20 past 10, the knife and fork. Placed at 10-20 position. This indicates to the waiter that you're finished having your meal. Now, if you are using the American style, it would be that the tines turned down. If you're using the continental style, the tines turned up. So 10-20 position. So this is an indication to the waiter that you're finished having your meal. Now, another thing to note that he or she will only clear the table when everybody has finished eating. If you are usually a fast eater, you may need to slow down on this occasion, because if you're eating quickly, then you're putting a little pressure on the other person at the table to eat as quickly as you, because you're gonna finish before, and they're realizing that the waiter is waiting on them to finish, and you're finished. If you're normally a slow eater, you need to speed up on this occasion. So when you're at the table, wait until everybody has been served before you start eating, and the waiter's gonna wait until everybody has finished eating before he or she clears that course. So now that we're finished eating, he's gonna clear this course. Another thing to note is if you are attending an event and you got there late, you join the course that is being served. You don't then ask the waiter, so you didn't get the soup, so you want your soup. You're at salad, you start with the salad. You're at the main course, you start with the main course. Are there any, so the questions at the end? So you talk with the person with your hands still in your lap, or you're at the edge of the table. No chewing, no sneezing, coughing. Right. So the next course that will come will be the main course. At this time, you can choose to have a piece more of your bread to choose while you're waiting. Breaking a bite-sized piece and putting a bite-sized piece in your mouth. So we're waiting on our main course. So that would be the two problems left on the table. Okay. So again, the waiter is gonna serve the two for gentlemen, he's gonna serve from the left. Thank you, and you always be courteous to the wait staff. You can't be present and with everybody else and be rude with the wait staff. They're poor form. So you say thank you when you're served. Not overly so, but pleasant. If for some reason something is wrong with your meal, and by wrong, it can't be but you got breast instead of leg, or you wanted the thigh and you don't look like it's the thigh. Not something like that. Because if you are gonna call the wait staff to change something about your meal, you're holding up everybody else. And it's about being courteous, about being aware of the other persons around you and always making sure everybody feels comfortable. If you're calling the wait staff to complain or something about your meal, it means that everybody else will have to wait on you. And yes, you could say to them, please go ahead. But then everybody gets concerned about your meal when it's really a simple thing of the part of the chicken. And for that occasion, you can simply have what you're served. So it have to be something really critical, something that's going to make it dreadfully ill, or something that which you're allergic. And that is the case. Then you get the attention of the waiter by just raising your finger, not snapping your fingers or anything like that. And usually, most restaurants, you can get the waiter's attention by with just your eyes to tell them this feel that something is wrong and you need to have them change your meal. So for the main course, you can opt to choose which style you're going to use to have the meal. But what it is that you must use that style for the entire dining experience. You can't say, well, you know, this part of fish or chicken I want to use continental style. So as the persons with their meal, so we're going to start now. I'm going to start with the American style. Again, I'm going to start with both the fork, knife in the right hand, fork in the left hand. Using the knife to cut. Knife is straight at the top of the plate, with the cutting edge turned in, you switch hands, and the fork goes into your mouth from your right hand with the tines turned up. If you're using the continental style, the tines goes into your mouth. With the time, the food stays on the back of the fork, and the tine goes into your mouth with the tines turned down. From your left hand, the tines turned down. So we'll put down the knife, above the plate, the edge turned in, switch hands. And the fork goes into our mouth. And to make sure you don't load the fork so that you have food fall off the fork as it's going up, just enough for a mouthful. That's how we do the bread, we do a bite size. So if anybody has wine, we can ask for wine. Okay, looking for the waiter. Continental style on the back of the fork. Is it red? Yes. The times turned down. So no, that this he poured the red wine, he removed the red wine glass. He removed the white wine glass. Held by the stem. And he take that sip. It stays on the right. If for some reason you're finished eating and the waiter haven't come to clear the table as quickly as you would like, do not remove the plate from the setting in front of you. Just wait, they will come. Don't move it and stack it at the edge of the table or anything like that. If you're at a banquet or a wedding and they're pouring wine to everybody and you do not want wine, do not turn on the glass, just let it pass your hand as the waiter is approaching. Either they say no thank you or you pass your hand. That will indicate to the wait staff that you're not interested in the wine. Do not turn down the glass. When you're having the main course, that's a wine being poured. Remember, if it's a continental style, so on the back of the fork, including the rice, goes into your mouth. From your left hand with the tines turned down. Remember, for the continental style, taking a break to talk with your dining companions. This is how you place the cutlery. Give me a few minutes to have the main course. Remember where you're holding the knife? Index finger is placed on the joint between the blade and the handle. The fork, index finger extend along the back of the fork. On the back. Goes into your mouth. With the tines turned down. For the American, when you switch, fork is head like a pencil, and it goes into your mouth with the tines turned up. Remember, you can't switch styles, whichever style you've opted for. If the fork is going into your mouth on your left hand, it should be the tines turned down. I see somebody with the fork going into their mouth from the left hand with the tines turned up. From the back of the fork, remember for the continental style, if the fork is going into your mouth from the left hand, it would be with the tines turned down, going into your mouth from your left hand. If it's going to your mouth with the tines turned up, then it's from your right hand, where you have used the knife to place item on the fork or cut something. Knife turned in, fork goes into your mouth from your right hand with the tines turned up. It's going into your mouth. There's no Jamaican style. I think I hear somebody asking that in their mind. There's no Jamaican style. On the back of the fork, with the tines turned down. So if you're taking a break, using the continental style, just as how you'll be using the knife and the fork, the waiter knows you're not finished eating. For the American style, the knife is up here, the fork here. At 4 o'clock, he knows you're not finished eating. You just stop, take a break, you're talking to your dining companions. Conversations to avoid. It is useful if you're going to an event like this to get caught up on your current affairs, be aware what's happening, avoid emotive topics like religion, politics. Another thing, as you get older, you realize is parenting is another hot topic you avoid. So, and if you're not just sure to talk about the decor of the restaurant, it's very nice table, not foolishness, not sounding very weak, but a little aware of what is going on. And so if you're not sure to talk about, you can talk about what's happening in the restaurant, the decor, how nice it is, how nice something on the table is. But you must talk, you can't just sit there. If you're there, it's a business event and your boss is there, they have to be the person to introduce the business discussion. But get caught up, read the news, read the paper, listen to the radio, or online, wherever you get the news, so that you're aware of what is happening around you and you can participate actively in the discussion. It is all about image. People deduce without thinking about it, just by meeting. In business, many times the first time somebody meets is in a dining setting. You're having food. Could be a cocktail event, it may not be a sit down, but either way, it's you being able to navigate and manage yourself in a dining experience, how to conduct yourself in the public space. And the first time the meeting will be that, the first impression they'll form, and people deduce all kinds of things, just very how you're able to handle yourself in a dining setting. And you want to make sure that that image is a positive one. So you know, for today, practice at home so that when you're on that final interview, you're not caught up on which what should do the napkin, what should do the plate, where's the fork. You can sell yourself, you can focus on content, on your delivery, and not be worried about this part of it. Another thing to note when you're ordering, it is not the time to try something new. Or if you know you're somebody who really can't resist the oxtail bone, it's not a time to order that. Stay away from things with a lot of sauce, it may splatter and soil the clothes. Try something simple. Once it says fillet, it means it doesn't have any bones in it, so that is a preferred thing to use to have, so that's it's simple and easy. It's not recommended to try something I've never had before. So I always wanted that. So keep it simple so that you can focus on content. Is people still having their meal? I'll give you a few more minutes to have your meal. Now for the top of the plate, always with the cutting edge turned in. Remember where you place the knife and fork when you're finished the 10-20 position if you're finished eating. Let the edge turn in, or it goes into your mouth.
Excuse me, ma'am. Miss, you hearing me?
No, I didn't hear. It was a question?
Yes. Should the knife go between the fork?
No, it's beside the fork. When you're finished eating at the 10-20?
Yes.
Yeah, not this. This is what you're
Right.
asking.
Right.
No, it's placed beside it,
Okay.
10-20 position.
Okay,
So
thank
it's,
you.
and again, it's turned up if you are using the American style, turned down if you're using the continental style.
Okay, miss.
Miss,
Some people still even give you a few more minutes.
Miss, I have a question.
Mhm.
Are you hearing me?
Yes,
What's the proper way to hold the wine glass?
by the stem. However, this is red wine, and it's acceptable to hold between your third and fourth fingers. So you're at a cocktail event, but the warmth from your hand will not affect the quality of the wine because of the temperature the red wine is served anyway. White wine is served cold, you hold it at the stem. Similarly, champagne flute, hold at the stem. This is the base, this is the bowl, this is the stem. Can you see it? Are you hearing me? You heard me?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So sometimes the water goblet may not be, more and more, they're using other kinds of glasses for the water. It may not have a stem as clear as this. Just hold it at the lowest part of the glass, you can comfortably hold it. And please don't drink water or any other beverages with food in your mouth. Any other questions? People still eating? Ten 20 position. Imagine the plate as the face of a clock. 12 o'clock being the furthest point. Imagine where 20 past 10 would be. At 4 and pointing to the 10. The waiter is gonna clear from the right. He's gonna clear ladies first. Or they serve and clear older ladies before younger ladies. No. After the main course is cleared, the way staff would usually do what we call from the table. There's a instrument that's called a crummer, or they come with a napkin with a folded napkin with a plate and remove any food particles from the table. And then they're gonna do what is called breaking the cutlery. If you recall, the dessert cutlery was at the top of the setting. They'll place them in the correct position for you to have dessert. Yeah. When they break the cutlery, what would he brings on the spoon on the right and the fork on the left. So it depends on what the item you're having. You'd use either or sometimes both. So somebody has ice cream there. So you're going to be using the spoon. Sometimes the pie, you may need the fork to eat the crust. So the same thing would apply in terms of where we place the cutlery when we're finished having the meal. And once you're starting to use the cutlery, the handles of the cutlery don't touch the table. Our dessert course is here. Thank you. So I'm saying, once you started to, and we're having this evening, it's the lecture of a cornmeal pudding, compliments of island caterers. So we're going to be using the fork, and you put the fork in your right hand to have it. But I was about to say though, that once you start to use the cutlery, the handle shouldn't touch the table. The entire thing goes on the plate. So you start to use the fork, and the fork stays on the plate. It doesn't hang off the plate with the handles on the table. The other thing we don't do is wave around the cutlery. We're going to talk to our dining companion. We put down the cutlery and talk. We don't, yes, and make a point. And the cutlery becomes weapon. At the end of the course, the spoon and the fork are placed in the same 10-20 position. Now with the soup course, we use the spoon to scoop away from us. If the item is something we're using a spoon for dessert, you scoop towards it. So the person who's having ice cream, you would scoop this way towards you. With the soup would go that way. For dessert, it's this way. And it's from the point, not the side, from the point of the spoon. Okay, so we're having dessert.
Yes.
And just goes into your mouth.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
miss,
Yes.
if you're having ice cream and cake, do you use both?
Yes.
Okay.
We do. And you would, as if the spoon would be in your right hand. And at the end of having the course, you place both of them. Even if you hadn't used both cutlery items, You place both of them on the plate at the 10-20 position. Sometimes it depends. If the ice cream is placed on the cake, you may not need the fork. But if it's a case, whatever the item is, if you need both, it's acceptable to use both.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes?
If you were using American style, right, where you're basically eating with your left hand.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Go again.
If you were using the American style, where you were basically eating with your left hand, know that you have the cake, you just continue with your, should you switch to your right hand?
No, because with the dessert, you're using one item.
Mhm.
You're using one, you put the fork in your right hand if you're right-handed, and if you're left-handed, in your left hand.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but, you said something about American and eating with your left hand.
Yes.
Remember with the American style, no, it goes into your mouth from your right hand with the tines turned up.
So is it the contemporary style that I'm getting mixed?
Continental is in your left hand, on the back of the fork, the fork goes into your mouth with the tines turned down.
Okay, well, that's what I meant, the continental, sorry.
Oh, okay, right. So you would use, if you are left-handed, then it stays in your left hand. But if you're right-handed, you use the fork in your right hand. I want to get the waiter's attention and use my finger to just get his attention.
Here we go. Miss?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Miss?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
All right. Seeing that we have like a glass cup with the
I'm not
ice, how would we put down the spoon in this situation?
If you mean if the dessert is served in a glass,
Yes, miss.
yes, you use a dessert spoon, and usually the restaurant would, based on what they're serving the dessert in, would make sure that it can fit. Because dessert spoons are big, but you have smaller ones. And this is the average size, but you have smaller ones. So what they would do usually is ensure that whatever they're serving to the dessert spoon can fit. But once it's can fit. But once it's in the glass, you'll be using the spoon.
Okay.
That clarifies it for you?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
Very often at this time, you're offered coffee and or tea. And some restaurants, they'll bring the tea selection. They'll bring this for you to select your tea. They'll bring a tea box. So the waiter is going to bring a tea box. And so you see what the tea box looks like, and then for you to select the tea you're going to have. What is eating? Could you bring the tea box, please? You have a thing. No, I was going to show it to them.
Let me just place this down.
Okay,
in
sure.
the tea box.
Okay.
So I want to make all the coffee.
Now, the cup and saucer would usually be served with this spoon at the 4 o'clock position for you to be able to use it. Now, that is not acceptable. When you're stirring, it should make no sound. Do not have the spoon hitting on the inside of the cup. So very often in some establishments, they'll bring what is called a tea box. For you to select the tea you would like to have. After you've selected the tea, they do one or two things will happen depending on the establishment. Either they'll leave it with you there, the one you have selected on a side plate, or they'll bring back the milk and sugar and hot water along with the tea bag on a side plate for you to have. Yeah. When you open the packet, you place them on the saucer. And I should point out, saucer is the one that have the rings here, as against the side plate, which is the bread and butter plate, that wouldn't have any inner rings inside of it. So they'll pour the hot water for you, and very often they would leave a jug with hot water because many times persons want to have more hot water with the tea, depending on how strong it is. Some places will use for the coffee. French press. I'm going to show you what a French press looks like. Sometimes the coffee is perked in the back of the house and it's served in something like this, an insulated jug or something small as single portion coffee, or something what we call a French press, where the coffee grains is placed in there with hot water and they take it to the table while it's brewing. Right. This is what a French press looks like. So you'll get it with the coffee and the hot water, and they'll normally leave this up and bring it to you at the table and tell you to wait 2 or 3 minutes, and you push down this, and then you're able to pour your coffee. Well, you can see it? Answer, please, one person. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I didn't put the tea bag in water because I'm not going to have the tea, but you would leave it in the water and you would add the condiments. Anything you open, you place it on the saucer. And with no noise while you're doing that. And you must put down the teaspoon before taking up the cup to place in your mouth. Do not leave the spoon in the cup either, as an accident waiting to happen. If you have the spoon in the cup like this, but your hand can knock it over. Once you're finished using the spoon, you place it on the saucer, and you're having your cup, the tea or your coffee, and you're having your dessert. Use your napkin if necessary to blot the side of your mouth. Are there any questions? So the silent service code to the waiter when you're finished eating your dessert is to place both the spoon and the fork at the 10-20 position. Now for the entire dining service, the waiter will be pouring water until it gets to dessert. then he or she will only be pouring water if you have asked for it. Before that, he keeps topping up your water as you go along, as you go through the service. It's supposed to be that you don't even notice. It's supposed to be so quick and quiet and professional that it's happening and you don't even notice. When they're having the dessert,
Yes, miss.
Miss Nisha Lynch, your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Good evening, Seminar 2021. My name is Nisha Lynch. I'm Research Committee Supervisor. Miss, can you have wine with dessert?
yes, of course. They are usual. Very often you have different wines as you go through the courses, because wine is one of those things that you pair with whatever you're having to improve the taste of either item. And you have some wines that you call dessert wines, which tend to be sweeter. When the wine is not as sweet, then we call those wines dry. For example, port wine is a very nice wine that's had with dessert. It tends to be, it's sweeter and has a higher alcohol content. So you need to be aware of that. But yes, absolutely, you can have wine with dessert.
Okay, one more thing, Miss. Can you hold the wine glass, the red wine glass like this, or it's only this way?
I can't.
Like this? Can you hold it like this? Or it's only this?
Can I do it?
You're the person in the red top?
No, I'm in the black. Nisha Lynch.
We're checking for you. That's her. Okay.
Oh.
Yes, hold a second. Who you're asking?
I was asking if I could hold the wine glass,
No,
the red
no,
wine.
no. This way.
For the red too?
Or between your third and fourth fingers.
Okay. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions about the dessert? Yeah. On the side table in the diary. Just one. That's right there. Sometimes, depending on the restaurant and the type of meal you've had, you may be given a finger bowl. And what it is it's to just for your fingertips.
Huh?
So what they would do is bring to you and place in the middle of the setting before moving on to the next course. And you would just place your fingertips only, and then you dry your hands on your napkin and place it to the left of the setting. It depends. There's some restaurants and depends on what kind of meal item you have had. But just to let you be aware, it's fingertips, it's from what, just your fingertips. No picking up teeth, no adjusting makeup at the table. If you must leave the table, don't say why you're going. Let's say you need to go to the restroom, you have to please excuse me, I'm back shortly. You have to say why you're going. Are there any questions?
Slowly, sir. Yes, don't put me.
I didn't hear that.
Mr. Perry, you may go ahead.
Evening accommodation 2020-2021. Good evening, madam.
Good evening, sir.
You hear me clearly?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm doing Perry, first vice president. I was having internet connection problem earlier, so I didn't hear some of the things that you said. But what my question is, I've been to the formal settings before where they're saying if you're drinking,
Mhm. If you're drinking, I didn't. I'm not hearing you. Hello, I'm not hearing.
Hey, Miss Michael, it seems we lost Mr. Perry. He has left. He's having some technical difficulties.
Are you able to call him to ask the question so I can just answer it for everybody and then you can tell him later?
I'll ask someone to. Moisha, can you call Mr. Perry and ask what his question was? Thank you. Yes, Miss, will do. In the interim, though, others, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask your questions. If you need any clarification, remember you're going to be assessed on this, so make sure that everything's crystal clear. And we have Miss Michael here. You would have heard from her profile that she's very proficient, so there isn't a question she cannot answer. I'm sure of it. Oh, Miss Michael, I wanted to just ask you to stress the importance of not leaning forward into the table. I'm not sure you said it, I can't recall, but the importance of not leaning forward to meet
What I said is that lean slightly forward, raise the spoon to your lip, and have the item that you're having. It's not, you don't hunch over the table. So that's why you make sure you distance from the table. You can check it easily, 2 weights of your hands. Lean slightly forward and raise the item to your mouth and put it in your mouth. Don't hunch over the table, no elbows on the table. Wrist here, proper posture. So Have they heard the question yet? We're at the dessert course, and usually this is the last course for today. And we're spoke about the coffee and the tea. It's usually the time when person start to fix up, adjust makeup. Is not the time to do not do those things at the table. I said it before, I want to say it again. At these events, you keep your phones off. If for some reason you had it on and you didn't realize you made a mistake, if it rings, you quickly say, I'm so sorry, I thought I turned that off, and you turn it off. You don't check to see who was calling. It has to be clear to the person with whom you are that this is what is important now. I can't stress how important it is to master these skills, because we're living in a time when many persons are having their meals from boxes and so forth, watching TV, and it's still an important skill. Though we have moved, things have changed rapidly in many areas, still your ability to be able to handle yourself in a public space, in a dining setting, remains important. Employers are interested in how well you can represent the image of your company, and it's going to be in a dining setting many times. It could be intimate setting for two. You impress the gentleman or the lady, you must be able to handle yourself appropriately. It takes the guesswork out of public behavior. So I encourage everybody to practice and consider it a necessary skill. The soft skills is what determines our progress. Many persons, as I said before, have the same education, the same degree, the same technical competence. It's the soft skills, your ability to get along with persons, to fit in, that will determine how well you get, how far you're able to go. You got the question, Miss?
Thank you, Miss. He is typing the message now. He was having internet issues. Miss Michael, I'll ask some questions in the interim, right? So often when we're doing fine dining or in dining settings, we'd have the bread placed in a basket and we have to pass the basket around. Can you just stress the importance of how we do that when we have to pass anything? It could be the salt and pepper, it could be the bread basket. Once we have to pass something around, how does it move around and when do we take our share?
Okay, for the bread basket, it is the responsibility of the person closest to the basket to start moving it around the table. And he or she does this by offering it to the person on his or her right, taking his and then passing it left. But the salt and the pepper, if something, and you place it on the table nearest to the person who needs it. So if somebody else asks for the salt and the pepper, you never pass only one. You always pass the salt and the pepper, regardless of which one they had asked for. And we do not pass hand to hand. We place it on the table closest to the person who was asked for it. It may mean that somebody else would have to move it closer if the person is far away from you. The other thing you don't do is that somebody says, could you pass the salt, please? And you said to yourself, you know, the food will take some salt, and you take the salt first. No, you pass to who was asked for it, and then you ask it back to use it. You don't short stop it as it's going by to use it. So always pass both the salt and the pepper and the bread, offer to the person on the right, take ours and pass it to the person on the left.
Thank you, Miss. I am going to play the recording from Mr. Dwayne Perry, and then I'm going to call upon the persons whose hands are raised.
Okay.
One moment, please. Mr. Perry asks that is it right or wrong to use the juice glass and the water glass at the same time. I'm trying to get his recording to play.
No, that's perfectly fine because water is always going to be on the table. So if he has been served and juice, I'm assuming he means not wine, some food drink or something. If he has been served a drink, it's fine to you to they're both on the table, and if you like the water, you can take up and have the water. or you can take up and have the drinks. If you have wine and water on the table, the same thing applies. You can have either. No, this is perfectly acceptable.
Okay, Miss. He also asks, his question is it right or wrong to empty the juice cup? Also, is it right or wrong to empty the dinner plate?
It's perfectly acceptable to have everything on the plate. However, it should not look as if it doesn't need to be washed. You have the meal, but it shouldn't be there just scraping up the last grain. And no, you complete the meal. It's not that you must leave a piece of meat or so. No, you have the meal. If you enjoy it, you can have it all. But it shouldn't be a case where you're not sure if the plate was actually used. You know what I mean? It shouldn't look that way. And you're asking about the drink. Yes, you can finish the drink. What we don't do though is shake the glass with the ice or crack up the ice. We have a drink, and if there's ice there, we leave it.
Thank you very much, Miss. We have Miss Robinson, and then Miss Rose, and then Mr. Lynch. Miss Robinson, you may go ahead.
It's Mr. Robinson. Good evening, Accounting and Finance Committee. I am Shanier Robinson. Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2020-2021. I am Shanier Robinson from the Accounts and Finance Committee. So my question is it mandatory to have a covering or a tablecloth on the table? So if it is a glass table?
No, not mandatory, but it comes down to what the establishment is. Where you're saying for home, or you're saying if you're out.
If you're out and home, both.
So if you're out, it's going to be. It depends on the type of restaurant. Once it's a formal or near formal restaurant, they're going to have a tablecloth on the table. When you don't see tablecloth, it's usually for casual dining. It's not. It really comes down to the establishment. I'm not sure why you asked that question. Is it? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, basically, that's why I asked if it's like a glass table, you can use placemats.
Yeah, if it's something for home, the glass table. Well, you saw the setting at the beginning where we had the charger, what we call the charger or show plate.
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, they'll put something like that. If they're trying to replicate a formal, no, it's not likely to see that. If it's formal, they're going to be using a tablecloth. If it's casual dining, it's going to be maybe a glass or a wood top, and some will have placemats. But other than that, and some even have placemats out of paper, advertising the establishment. It is casual dining. I'm still not so sure why, if you're asking for something for home. Is that why you're asking?
Formal, as in if you're informal, if you're dining in a formal setting.
They're going to be using tablecloth. They're going to be using cloth napkins.
Miss, because I was informed from someone that works in the dining, as in the hospitality industry, regarding dining, and the person said that if you have a glass table, then tablecloth is not mandatory. That's why I ask.
Well, in a formal setting, if you go to any formal restaurant, even if it's a glass, they're going to put a tablecloth on it. That's what I know for sure. If it's casual dining, then yes, it's not necessary. But I'm not sure why the importance of it though. I mean, it depends on it's up to the organization, the establishment. You will see tablecloth depending on the type of service they're offering.
Understood.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, all right. What's next? There's another question?
Yes, Miss Rose, you may go ahead, and then Mr. Lynch. Are you hearing me, Miss Rose? Okay, Miss Lynch, you may go ahead.
Good evening, Seminar 2020-2021. I am Nisha Lynch, Research Committee Supervisor. Miss Michael, for courses, how many courses can a dinner go up to?
No, it can go up to 10, 12 courses.
Oh,
You can have a fish course, a cheese course. They can have where they're just serving beef or some other type of meat, a seafood. We could even have done 5 courses this evening where we would have started with an appetizer, then the soup, then the salad, then the main course, and the dessert. A fish course is a popular course that people introduce. Sometimes there's a cheese course. There are many, many courses you could go up to. What they tend to do, you don't put more than maybe 5 or 6 course setting on the table. They will include appetizer, put on the fish course setting, and then they introduce the cutlery when they're serving the particular item.
thank you.
In courses like in situations like that, where each course, the quantity of meat is very small. So you're able to eat all of the different courses.
Okay, thank you.
Another question?
Miss Branford, you may go ahead.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2020-2021. My name is Akela Branford and I'm a member of the Accounting and Finance Committee. My question is, why is it that tea is served after all the meals and not like before?
And not before?
Yeah, because we had ice cream and then, you know, ice cream is cold and then the tea is hot or warm.
You could ask for it at any time, but it's tend to be offered at dessert. But you could have sit down in the restaurant and feel like a cup of tea and order it. So
Okay.
it's not critical to be served. You can have it any time.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I am seeing Rose hand raised. Rose, you may go ahead.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar. My name is Agandalimi from the Professionalism Committee. I'd like to ask, if you're a left-hander, how do you deal with the meal being set, the table set as is? And 2, if as ladies we have handbag, where do we put the handbag?
Okay. All right. First thing is, yes, the table is set for somebody who is right-handed. Now, you just would have to take, like, for example, the soup spoon you're going to be using, you need to use it with your left hand, right? Hello? You need to use your left hand or you have to use it with your right hand?
But you're a left-hander.
Yeah, if the table, generally in dining etiquette, the table is set for somebody who's right-handed. But if you are left-handed, it's accepted to take it up and use it with your left hand. But for the knife and the fork, placing the item on the back of the fork, you'll be fine to use that and putting the fork in your mouth with the tines turned down from your left hand. And you should be fine to change hands to put the fork in your mouth from your right hand. It will be just the soup, right? Hello?
Yeah, and the dessert.
And the dessert, yes, it's acceptable. We know that the table is set for right-handers, but yes, it's acceptable to use the spoon in the left hand and the dessert fork if you're using one item. You had what was the other question? Handbag.
Yeah.
You place them, it's under the table, or I don't know if you know these things, You can place on the chair to hang your bag on it. It's not on the table. Or you can ask the restaurant, depending on the establishment, if they're going to give you a chair for your handbag. But if you're there for an interview or so on, you place it under your chair or under the table.
Okay.
It does
Thank
not
you.
go on the table at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No, miss, I am not seeing any other question in the chat. Miss Lambert, you wanted to go ahead?
Okay. So if we say we have to sneeze at the table, Miss Michael, what should we do?
You turn away from the table and try to do it in your elbow. But the ideal thing is if you're able to catch it before, so you could excuse yourself from the table. If not, you turn away as far as possible. And then you go and wash hands and so on. Excuse yourself after it happens and go wash your hands and come back.
Okay, so we must make sure we do not use the napkin to sneeze
No,
in.
it's not for that, no.
Another thing is when we have to leave, I'm not sure you said it, but when we have to leave the table to return, where should we put our napkins?
I did say it. You place it loosely folded and place it to the left. No, I'm sorry. You leave it on the chair. That indicates to the wait staff that you're coming back. At the end of your meal, you're not coming back. You loosely fold and place to the left of your setting. But if you're coming back, you leave the napkin on the chair.
Okay, thank you. What about this concept of leaving some food on the plate?
As somebody asked that before, the thing is, it's perfectly fine to finish the meal, but it shouldn't look as if though the plate doesn't need to be washed. It's fine to finish. You don't have to leave a piece of meat on the plate. You can finish your meal, but it's not as though you're there taking out the last rice grain or so on. It shouldn't look as if though this is your last meal. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So to be safe, if I'm in an interview setting, right? So I'm having a meal for an interview, what would you advise? To leave at least a quarter of the meal on the plate or something?
No, I'm saying if you're enjoying it, you can finish it. I'm saying you'd have ordered something simple that you can manage and navigate without any problems, and you can finish what you have on the plate. You don't. What I'm saying is you don't have to scrape out the last grain and it as if though and the bowl is stripped clean and that kind of thing. But you can finish the meal. There's no requirement to leave a quarter of it on your plate.
Right.
If
Okay.
you enjoy the meal, finish it.
Absolutely.
Let me say something that I didn't mention. If you're sitting in a restaurant and your cutlery falls to the ground, do not attempt to pick it up. Usually, the wait staff are very alert. The minute something drops, they're coming to find you. If not, you can get the waiter's attention to let him know it's there. But do not take up the dirty knife or fork because where you're going to put it. So you must leave it where it is and the wait point it out to the wait staff when they come by. If it is it's in the way, you can use your foot to move it out of the way, but do not take it off.
What's the ideal way to signal to the wait staff?
One of two things. You can raise your index finger just above your chin, or usually you can get the waiter's attention with just your eyes. But you use your index finger just above your chin and to get the waiter's attention.
Thank you, Miss Michael. Maybe I missed it. Did you address something foreign in your mouth?
No, I didn't. And anything that needs to come out of your mouth comes out the way it went in. So it went in on a spoon, you remove it on a spoon. Went in on a fork, comes out on a fork. The only exception is the fish bone, where you can use the index finger and your thumb to remove it. Everything else, if something foreign is in your mouth, it comes out the way it went in, and you can place it on the side plate.
Thank you. I'm not sure, maybe I'll still ask this. You know, sometimes we're eating and let's say we had some greens, salad, something, and you know, a particle is left inside the teeth. Do we tell the person or do we ignore it? What's the best approach?
You mean your dining companion, something is there?
Yes.
No, if it's a friend, but if it's not, no, you don't say anything. You hope that they feel it and go and check it out. You do not draw their attention to it, no.
Okay, thank you.
And for the person who has it and feel that it is there, they need to just leave the table and go to the restroom and sort it out. Do not make any attempt to sort it out at the table.
Would you advise to, because sometimes we don't know, would you advise that if one has a meal where, you know, there is this chance of something being left inside your teeth, that the ideal thing to do would be to excuse yourself from the table and just check?
Yeah.
Or
yes, yes. But you see, that's what the ideal thing to do is stay away from things that may be the case when you're in that kind of setting. The simpler, the better. But yes, I would check. Yes, I would do that.